My husband loves me like his life depends on it, yet he's cheating with a college student. My husband loves me dearly. Because I had a late-term pregnancy termination, he's been worried about my health and has restrained himself from touching me for over a year. On Valentine's Day, I wanted to surprise him. But I accidentally saw the contents on his phone. You're not spending Valentine's Day with me? I'm mad. That old woman is nothing special, you're not allowed to touch her. In an instant, my mind felt like it was struck by thunder. I can check Ethan's phone anytime, but I had never seen this WeChat before. Buzz buzz buzz, the phone vibrated lightly. Another message came through. Come over tonight, I'll wear that bunny outfit for you, okay? It was followed by a naughty emoji. My breath caught. It felt as if a giant hand had gripped my heart tightly, and I was plunging into an endless ice cellar. Trembling, I picked up my phone and took a photo of this Facebook page. At that moment, the sound of a door handle turning came from the bathroom. Click. Ethan was suddenly standing behind me. Zoe, what are you looking at? Ethan was wrapped in a towel, his bangs damp and clinging to his forehead. His phone had already been restored to its original state by me. I knew he would never admit to such little evidence. Mom called again today, pressuring us to have a child. Tears welled up in my eyes, tears of anger and grievance. I couldn't believe this man before me would betray our love. Silly, don't take what Mom says seriously. As long as the two of us are fine, it doesn't matter whether we have children or not. He smiled indulgently, gently wiping away the tears at the corner of my eye with his finger. Do you still love me? I asked. I do. I, Ethan, will only ever love Zoe in this lifetime. His words were incredibly sincere. If I hadn't seen those messages, I would have been moved by him once again. You haven't touched me in over a year, is there still love? I smiled bitterly, not exposing his lie. Ethan paused. Zoe, I'm just worried about your health, I've been holding back every time. After the last abortion, the doctor said it's best not to have children for 3 years. Nothing is more important than your health. When he said things like that before, I would have thought I'd found a good husband. Now, I understand. Men all crave something new, something young. Ethan is no exception. As long as we take the proper precautions, we won't have a child even if we do it. At his words, Ethan's body stiffened. I knew he really didn't want to. His physical reaction gave him away. Fool, I don't want a barrier between us when we're being intimate. Let's listen to the doctor and hold on for 2 more years. We'll definitely have a healthy, beautiful baby then. His large, knobby hand stroked my hair. Suddenly, I felt sick. That dirty hand had no doubt touched that woman countless times. I brushed his hand away and said calmly, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep first. All right, all right. Does the little lady want me to tell you a story to help you sleep? He teased me with a smile. No need. I turned away. Then I'll work late in the study. Good night, wife. No sooner had he finished speaking than his phone rang. He frowned as he glanced at it, then hung up, but the call came through again. Insurance salespeople, like stubborn stickers, once they stick, they never let go. Ethan helplessly explained to me. Block her, I said. Yeah, just ignore it. Honey, go to sleep. Ethan tucked the blanket around me and turned to leave the bedroom. In the darkness, I opened my phone. Ethan's new Facebook name was, Oops, Heartbeat. The girl's name was, Hee Loved. Couple nicknames. I quickly created a new Facebook account and went into the videos she had posted. The latest video was shot in a restaurant. The girl was young and beautiful, her small hands white and tender, while the other hand had long, slender knuckles. Both hands formed a heart gesture. The caption read, He said he would cherish me for a lifetime. So sweet. If I hadn't recognized those hands as my husband's, I would have definitely liked the video and commented something like a perfect match, a match made in heaven. Ethan's index finger bore a faint scar. Back then, we lived in a rented apartment, and I was sick with a cold and fever. Clumsily, Ethan had made ginger soup with red dates for me, accidentally cutting his index finger while slicing ginger. I still remember him bringing the steaming ginger soup to me, saying with concern, "Zoe, you have to get better soon. I just made a wish to the gods that all your pain and illness be transferred to me." I laughed at his foolishness. I thought this man loved me deeply, truly, and completely. But it turned out, he could love someone else just as much. The man who once loved me with all his heart had fallen wholeheartedly for another woman. I held back my sorrow, tears slipping down uncontrollably. The girl loved to share. Trips to the beach with her boyfriend, visits to amusement parks, climbing snowy mountains, shopping, dining, everything was documented, but not a single clear photo of Ethan's face. Only blurry backs. But even if Ethan were reduced to ashes, I would still recognize him. 8 years together, all my sincerity fed to the dogs. In the middle of the night, a soft drizzle began outside the window. Outside came Ethan's cautious footsteps, followed by the sound of the front door opening and closing. I slipped into my pajamas and hailed a taxi downstairs. "Driver, follow that car ahead." The driver, a straightforward woman, said, "Wow, this is the 5th time this year I've caught someone cheating." She pressed the accelerator skillfully, tailing Ethan's car closely. "Men are no good, don't be soft-hearted, little sister. First, get the evidence, then make him leave with nothing." My cousin was foolish, couldn't bear to leave the kids, so she didn't divorce. She wanted to give her man one more chance, but that dog of a man coaxed away the evidence and secretly transferred the assets, leaving my cousin drowning in debt. The driver was a woman in her 40s, chattering on and on. I had no interest in listening, my heart was pounding, and I didn't know what to do if I really saw that cheating couple. Should I confront her and tear into her, or just curse her out? My heart felt like it was about to leap out, thumping loudly in my throat. Half an hour later, Ethan's car stopped in front of a new apartment. Soon, the slender figure of a girl dashed out of the apartment. Her long hair flew behind her as she ran, radiating the vibrant energy of youth. When Ethan saw her again, he stepped out of the car with long strides, holding a black umbrella in his hand. The petite figure threw herself into the man's arms, her hands wrapping around his waist. She stood on tiptoe and kissed his thin lips. The scene was just like in a TV drama where the male and female leads reunite after a long separation, eager to meld into each other's bodies. I trembled as I took out my phone and captured this tender moment. Before long, Ethan pulled the girl into the back seat of the car. The rain grew heavier and heavier. Large raindrops pounded against the car. The pitter-patter of the rain drowned out all other sounds. The black car, its hazard lights flashing, swayed in the downpour. The driver, a woman, cursed angrily, "Damn it, these two shameless lovers, truly disgraceful. Don't be afraid, little sister. If you want to vent, I'll stand with you. Today, we'll tear apart this shameless bitch." I sat in the taxi, my mind blank. My heart felt like it was being cut by countless knives, each beat tearing through me with unbearable pain. I wanted to step forward and pull Ethan out, but it felt like a heavy sandbag was tied to my legs, I couldn't lift a single step. Tears unknowingly blurred my vision. I had clearly anticipated this scene. They must have done this many times already. But seeing it with my own eyes, my heart truly ached, a deep, soul-piercing pain. My heart felt like someone had gouged out a bloody hole, torturing it with every cut, blood pouring out. The pain was so intense I couldn't breathe, and I weakly uttered one word, "Go." "Little sister, you can't let them off so easily, you need evidence." The driver lady angrily pounded the steering wheel. I bought the dashcam in the car. I stared at the car ahead, my voice hoarse. As the taxi passed Ethan's car, the driver frantically honked the horn, but it couldn't stop the swaying vehicle. While driving, the lady tried to comfort me. "Girl, I saw a blogger on Facebook post 3 soul-searching questions. Listen, do they make sense to you? First, if you had to choose between your husband cheating and you having terminal cancer, which would you pick? I'd pick the husband cheating, haha. Second, if you had to choose between your husband cheating and losing your child, which would you pick? Of course, I'd pick the husband cheating. Third, if you had to choose between your husband cheating and never getting rich in your life, which would you pick? I'd still pick the husband cheating, right? Men aren't exactly rare, you can find one anytime, anywhere. Have you seen it in the movies? They find several men, each one more handsome than the last. Forget about personal morals, when something happens just go crazy. It's better to trouble others than to wrong yourself. As women, as long as we make good money, even if you're 80 years old, you can still find a handsome 18-year-old guy. My sister kept trying to cheer me up all the way home. I stumbled back into the house in a daze. Curling up on the sofa, the first thing I did was turn on the dash cam. The footage was loading when a sultry voice came through. "Brother, G gently." Ethan was drenched in sweat as he said, "If I don't satisfy you, you little demon, calling me over in the middle of the night, huh? Don't you dare call me tomorrow." The girl's voice was full of grievance. "Who told me I liked you so much? Blame me for being sentimental. On rainy days, I just miss you especially." As she spoke, she began to cry pitifully. Ethan kissed away the tears on her face and gently soothed her, "Be good, I'm staying with you all day today, don't cry, okay?" I expressionlessly opened my phone to record the screen. My throat felt like it was being gripped by a giant hand. I bit my lip hard but couldn't stop the choking sobs. Tears betrayed me. I howled loudly, like a ghost with disheveled hair, crying until my eyes swelled and the tears ran dry. I don't know how much time passed until the phone automatically shut down from running out of battery. On the coffee table lay a note he left me. "There's an urgent matter at the company that needs handling. Rest well at home. I'll give you a little surprise tomorrow. Love, Ethan." At the end, he even drew a heart. He still remembered the date tomorrow. Tomorrow was our wedding anniversary, a date he had specially chosen, the day after Valentine's Day. The word lover was the one Ethan hated most. When he was in elementary school, his father had abandoned him and his mother for a lover. Because of that, he endured the disdain and sneers of relatives and neighbors. Until he met me, he said I was like a little sun shining into his dark life, bringing light to his world. We had been in love for 3 years and married for 5. Ethan had said more than once, he would never betray me, never have a lover. Ethan would love only Zoe for life, unwavering until death. How pathetic and laughable. I tore the note to shreds, the pieces fluttering all over the living room. The man I loved with all my heart was, in the end, dead to me. Just after 5 in the morning. Ethan came back, dark circles under his eyes, holding a large bouquet of roses. As soon as he got in, he headed straight to the kitchen. Not long after, Ethan, apron tied, carried my favorite dishes: heart-shaped fried eggs, scallion pancakes with savory sauce, sea cucumber dumpling soup, and crispy little fried dough sticks. He came into the bedroom. "Wife, get up quickly. Today is our wedding anniversary. I'm taking you somewhere special later," he called softly. Ethan's voice was so pleasant that in my drowsiness, I thought I was dreaming. Everything that happened yesterday felt so unreal, I wish it were just a nightmare. I sighed softly and slowly got up. He was busy setting breakfast on the small table, squeezing toothpaste for me. For 8 years, scenes like this have played out in my home every day, except when he's on a business trip, but even then, he calls me daily. Tall and handsome, standing 185 centimeters, wealthy and good-looking, he's the kind of man many women flock to, eager to attach themselves to him. Relatives and friends all praise him as a good husband and a good man, capable and loving, saying I truly found a treasure. But only I know that 8 years ago, Ethan was a poor boy looked down upon by everyone. Wearing faded, washed-out jeans, mocked and insulted by the villagers. Because his father cheated many relatives and neighbors out of money and ran off with his mistress, the villagers vented their anger on him. I stood by him as he built everything from scratch, from a cramped 10-square-meter office to now owning an entire building as a large enterprise. Not only did he pay back the money borrowed from his father's relatives and neighbors, but he also drove a Maybach and bought a villa. He even built a 3-story Western-style house in the village. As the company grew bigger and bigger, he never changed towards me. He was still the same Ethan who knew when to be cold or warm and was romantic. Except for what happened yesterday, something I never would have dreamed of. When I came out of the bathroom, Ethan happened to look up at me. He had a pair of peach blossom eyes, full of affection even when looking at a dog. Suddenly, his brows furrowed slightly, and he nervously asked, "Zoe, are you crying? Why do your eyes look swollen like walnuts?" Saying that, he took a peeled boiled egg and rolled it under my eyelid, but I turned aside to avoid it. I asked lightly, "You didn't sleep all night?" "Yeah, the company needed things urgently, so I didn't stop all night." Ethan spoke as he rubbed his temples with his hand, his once fresh and handsome face now full of exhaustion. "Who upset you and made you cry? Did Mom call again asking for money? How much does she want this time? I'll transfer it to her." He knew that every time my mom called asking for money, I would argue with her and end up crying from frustration. "Hurry up and eat breakfast, today I'm all yours." "All mine?" I scoffed. "Are you even still my husband? What nonsense are you talking? I'm your one and only legal husband, Zoe. We swore to be together for life." I slowly lifted my head to look into his eyes. His gaze was sincere and full of affection, with no hint of pretense, still the young man whose heart and eyes belonged entirely to me. Tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. He pulled me into his arms, apologizing with a pained heart, "I'm sorry, wife. The company has been overwhelming lately. From now on, I'll make time to be with you. Haven't you always wanted to go to the beach? Let's go today." My mind was in complete chaos. Should I confront him now? And after confronting him? Divorce? Or forgive him? We have 8 years of shared history, weathering storms together. Ethan was just momentarily blinded, he still has me in his heart. Although he has another woman outside, he still takes meticulous care of me when he comes home. He's willing to spend money on me, and even my family has benefited quite a bit. I want to convince myself to make do. But why does my heart hurt so much, like swallowing a fly I can't spit out or swallow? No, I won't forgive him. I will be strong and take back everything that belongs to me. On the way to the beach, Ethan mysteriously pulled out a pink diamond necklace. "Honey, I bought this last time in France. Didn't you say you really liked the necklace that celebrity wears?" I had casually seen it once while scrolling through short videos and just said, "This necklace is really pretty." He took it to heart. I turned my head toward the car window, watching the scenery blur past, feeling not happy at all. I don't know what I was thinking, but I added that girl on Facebook. She accepted immediately. "Heh, you're not as stupid as I thought, huh? Ethan hid it so well, yet you found out. Since you already know, just be sensible and get a divorce." The girl was arrogant and overbearing. She had long known about my existence but still chose to be with Ethan. "You know he's married, so why do you still do this?" I glanced at Ethan, who was driving. He was in a good mood, even humming a tune. A wave of hatred surged through me. I clenched my fists, my nails digging sharply into my palms. Because he loves me. Love doesn't have a first or second, the one unloved is the third party. I just met him a step later than you did. Want to make a bet? A bet on what? I know today is your wedding anniversary. Let's bet he'll leave you to come to me. Fine, I agreed, almost against my own will. The car had just come to a stop when Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at it and hung up immediately. I knew it was that girl. The phone rang again, I shot him a look. "Turn off your phone. I don't want our anniversary disturbed. Ethan hesitated for a moment. All right, whatever my wife says. I wasn't in the mood, so I took a walk along the beach and then returned to the guest house to rest. In the evening, Ethan asked me to go watch the sunset by the sea with him, but I refused, saying I had a headache. He said, okay, then you rest. I'll take some photos and show you. Ethan eagerly grabbed his phone and went out. I knew he couldn't wait to make a call. Half an hour later, he sent me a picture. Wife, the sunset by the sea is so beautiful. Yes, it was just like our relationship, about to come to an end. It took me a long time to reply with just 2 words, very beautiful. Wife, there's an urgent matter at the branch office in the neighboring city. Since I'm nearby, I'll go handle it and be back soon. I didn't reply, not for a long time. Ethan called, wife, did you see the message? What a coincidence, the branch office has an urgent matter too. Today is our wedding anniversary, and the company is more important than me? I cut him off. Of course, you're important, but over there, go ahead. I closed my eyes, no longer holding any illusions about him. I'll be back soon, honey, you rest first. He left. I lost. Actually, I had lost long ago. Lost completely. A cheating man shouldn't be someone you hold any hope for. About an hour later, the girl sent me a series of pictures. In the photos, an exquisite gift box was open, revealing a sparkling pink diamond necklace inside. A candid shot of Ethan's back, a bit blurry. The warm, ambiguous yellow light, the messy big bed. That necklace was exactly the same as the one Ethan gave me this morning. Haha, I won. I won't let him go all night. So what if you have the title? He hasn't touched you in ages, right? I saved all the pictures. First, I called my mother-in-law. After hanging up, I dialed the police. Hello, is this the police station? I want to report my husband by name. He's at a hotel with a prostitute. The bedding in the photo of the large bed bore the hotel's logo. This drama was more intense than any soap opera. The police and my mother-in-law arrived one after the other. My mother-in-law's face turned ashen with anger. She never imagined that the son she had raised with so much hardship would grow up to resemble the person she hated most. When the police used the hotel's master key card to open the door, 2 pale bodies were entwined together. My mother-in-law rushed forward and slapped Ethan across the face, only to be pushed back by the girl, stumbling backward. Old woman, no wonder Ethan refuses to leave me. Every time it's never enough. You're old and ugly, who would want to go down on you? Slap. Ethan slapped her with all his might. Mom. He shouted in panic. The girl looked shocked. She glanced at her grandmother, then at Ethan, hurriedly apologizing, I'm sorry, Auntie. Grandma's chest heaved violently with anger. She raised her hand and slapped the girl again. Don't say sorry to me, you should be apologizing to my daughter-in-law. It was then that Ethan noticed me standing at the very back of the crowd. Zoe, let me explain. Ignoring everything, he wrapped himself in a blanket and strode toward me. Ethan, I'm still naked, the girl called out anxiously. Shut up and get dressed, come with me to the police station, the officer said. There have been reports from the public about you engaging in illegal transactions. He's my boyfriend, we're in a relationship, just a normal romance, the girl said urgently. Bah, now this is my daughter-in-law, you shameless thing. The mother-in-law spat a mouthful of old phlegm in her direction. Then, raising her hand, she pointed at Ethan's forehead, heartless dog, how did I give birth to a son like you? Officer, please provide a copy of the interrogation evidence to my lawyer, I said calmly. Ethan looked at me in confusion. Let's get a divorce, I said quietly. No, I won't divorce you, not even if I die, Ethan growled. If I had known it would come to this, I wouldn't have started in the first place. 8 years ago, he said the same thing, Zoe, I would never betray you, even if it kills me. I took a deep breath, steadying my emotions, then go ahead and die. Everyone present is a witness, you are the one at fault. My demand is simple, you leave empty-handed. I spoke each word deliberately. Ethan froze, his face instantly turning pale. He stumbled and knelt before me, his eyes red as he pleaded, Zoe, I was wrong. All the property is yours. Just forgive me this once, I beg you. The girl grabbed his arm, crying, Ethan, you still have me. I love you. I'm younger than her. But Ethan shoved her away harshly, and she fell heavily to the ground. Get lost. Ethan's gaze toward her was filled with undisguised disgust. The girl sat on the floor, dazed and broken, wailing loudly. Divorce. I left him with those two words, turning away resolutely. The divorce papers were entrusted to a lawyer to be delivered to him. I was feeling restless, so I went on a trip to clear my mind. Ethan called me many times, and after I blocked him, he changed his SIM card to call again. If you have something to say, talk to my lawyer, I said, not wanting to speak a single word to him. Our mutual friends told me he hadn't been to the company for a long time and was drinking heavily every day. I just smiled and said nothing. It was none of my business anymore. I would never again hear him drinking, never again stay up all night worrying, cooking hangover soup and feeding it to him. I even had to set an alarm at night to get up and pour him water. Everything about him, good or bad, was no longer my concern. The only problem was that he refused to divorce, so we had to go through legal procedures, which were quite complicated. After playing around for half a month, I suddenly received a call from my mother. Where on earth have you been? Your father suddenly had a cerebral hemorrhage and collapsed. His condition is very serious, and we've been calling everywhere but can't find you. When I arrived at the hospital, Ethan was there. He had lost a lot of weight, his beard was unkempt. Gone was the handsome and elegant man he used to be. Zoe, you're back. I've brought in a specialist for Dad. Don't worry, he's going to get better. My dad had been honest and simple all his life. A farmer who faced the earth and worked the land, he had never seen much of the world. One phrase he often repeated was, education is the only way out for us poor folks. You and your brother must study hard. Your dad will sell everything he has to support you, my mom said, tears streaming down her face when she saw me. Where have you been? Your dad is holding on just to see you one last time. Dad wore an oxygen mask. When he heard I had arrived, he slowly opened his eyes and weakly raised his calloused hand. Zoe, live your life well. Dad will leave sooner or later. Don't be sad for me. Dad was weak and breathless, needing to gasp for air even to say a few words. Dad, I will take good care of Zoe, please rest and recover. Ethan half squatted by my dad's bedside, gently taking my hand. The warmth of his palm wrapped around my fingertips, but in an instant, I suddenly pulled my hand away from his grasp. It's me who's holding you all back, no use trying to get better, Dad waved his hand dismissively. I held his big hand, crying my heart out. Ethan took charge of all the arrangements for Dad's funeral, running back and forth tirelessly. I told him to leave, but he insisted on staying. Mom was overwhelmed with grief, and my younger brother was still in high school, clueless about everything. Relatives kept praising, Zoe's dad has such a good son-in-law. I heard he runs a company, rich and filial, the funeral was so grand. The young man is really handsome, Zoe's girl is so lucky. Relatives and friends chattered endlessly. In their eyes, I had soared to the top like a phoenix because I married well, my fate was good. No one understood the hardships I endured alongside Ethan as we fought our way through life. The sky drizzled with light rain. Dad was placed gently into that small box, slowly lowered into the grave, as shovels of earth gradually covered the little box. I cried until my throat was hoarse, knowing I would never again hear Dad's admonition, Zoe, study hard. When you grow up, be capable of making your own decisions. Don't ever have to look at anyone's face. Mom, I want a divorce. Ethan has another woman outside. After a night of contemplation, I decided to confess to Mom the day after Dad's burial. If Dad were alive, he wouldn't want his daughter to live a life full of grievances. My mom looked at me in disbelief. Despite her frail body, she trembled as she stood up and strode determinedly toward Ethan outside the house. Ethan. My mother ground her teeth as she called his name. Slap. She used all her strength in that one slap. I held my mother steady. How dare you treat my daughter like this? What has she ever done to you? My mother's lips trembled with anger. Mom, please, try to reason with Zoe. I know I was wrong. I really can't lose her. I don't want a divorce. He knelt before my mother, his voice choked with tears. He had been kicked out of the house by my younger brother. After returning to the room, my mother sighed deeply. She pulled a card from beneath the bedsheet and handed it to me. There's 100,000 yuan in here. You'll need money for the lawsuit. Take it. I looked at my mother's face, lined with wrinkles. Since Dad left, half her hair had turned white. As if reading the question in my eyes, she said, "It's all your money. You always get annoyed when I call asking for money, but every time I do, I save it for you. If the upper beam isn't straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Your dad was always afraid Ethan would end up like his father, running wild and leaving you with debts." Ethan lingered stubbornly at my doorstep, refusing to leave. I had no choice but to go back to Nanchang with him. After getting off the high-speed train, he carefully followed me, pulling his suitcase behind him. Zoe, don't you want a child? Let's have one today. I don't care if it's a boy or a girl, I'll love them as long as they're yours, he said, trying to please me. Get lost. I pushed him away with disgust. Ethan looked at me in shock, the corners of his eyes tinged with red. Do you hate me that much? I wish you'd just die right now. Ethan froze, as if all his strength had been drained away in an instant. He looked lost and murmured, "Do you only forgive me if I die?" I turned around and looked at him calmly. Let's get a divorce. There's no future for us. Watch out, I heard Ethan's shout. By the time I reacted, I saw Ethan being hit by a speeding car and thrown more than 10 meters away. He lay in a pool of blood as the car sped off. I was shoved hard and fell to the roadside. He risked his life to save me. The sound of honking rushed past. Ethan was admitted to the ICU. The doctors issued critical condition notices several times. Both my mother-in-law and my mom came. The police locked down the city and quickly caught the hit-and-run driver. It was that girl. Her name was Vivi. A college student, she had been harassed while working part-time at a bar, and Ethan saved her. Since then, she had developed deep feelings for this handsome, successful man. After multiple failed confessions, she drugged Ethan's drink at his company. Ethan always thought the drug was from a competitor. It was the girl's first time doing something like that, and Ethan felt very sorry for her. He offered her a sum of money, but she refused. Her family favored boys over girls, and she worked while attending school. She had only one request, to be able to stay by his side. Later, she joined Ethan's company, and after that, not letting me find out was Ethan's bottom line. She didn't dare cross it. She knew that if it came to my attention, Ethan would not hesitate to send her away. So, she recorded every little moment of love with her boyfriend in short videos. That boyfriend never appeared officially on camera. She hoped I would come across the videos, notice the slightest clue, and take the initiative to file for divorce. After catching them in the act that time, Ethan fired her and blocked all her contact information. She tried every possible way, but Ethan avoided her completely. She blamed all her resentment on me. After waking up, Ethan refused to eat, drink, or cooperate with treatment. My mother-in-law pleaded in vain. Seeing her son growing thinner and barely recognizable, she sighed deeply. Finally, she came to me. Zoe, please, don't bring up the divorce for now. Could you go to the hospital and keep Seong Bae company for a few days? After all, he risked his life to save me. I should take care of him until he recovers and is discharged. I agreed almost without hesitation. Yet, my mother-in-law still looked hesitant and troubled. There's one more thing. Ah, what a curse, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you, she wiped away her tears. Good child, it's my fault. My mother-in-law's hand trembled slightly as she held mine. I looked at her suspiciously. Since I got married, she had always treated me well. Whenever we went back to her hometown for holidays, she never made me do housework, she cooked all the meals, and they were always dishes I loved. Ethan and I had a bit of a disagreement, but my mother-in-law was always on my side. Even with this big mess, she stood by me the whole time. The only downside was that she often pressured us to have a child. After a long pause, my mother-in-law spoke again. I really can't do anything. Vivi is pregnant, but Ethan still refuses to write a letter of forgiveness. You want me to write it? I looked at her, feeling like I had never truly understood her before. No way. My mom stepped forward, shielding me behind her. We just want a divorce now. Your matters have nothing to do with us. Go be with your heartless son. I looked at the elderly woman whose temples had already turned gray and couldn't help but gently remind her, since she's pregnant, there's no need to write a letter of forgiveness, the police will release her anyway. If he doesn't write it, Vivi says she'll abort the child. My mother-in-law anxiously stamped her foot. Get lost, she deserves it. My mom kicked her out of the house. Ethan still refused to sign the divorce papers. I had no choice but to file for divorce in court. The day before the hearing, he asked to meet me. Zoe, I'd give my life for you. Can't we just get back together, he asked, his voice humble and pleading. I took a sip of coffee and said calmly, on Valentine's Day, I saw you with her in the car outside the apartment. I looked him in the eyes. The pink diamond necklace you gave me, Vivi has one exactly the same. Ethan's face turned pale instantly, his lips trembling uncontrollably. You've fallen for her. I've seen all the videos she shared. They're so sweet. I gave a bitter smile. Zoe. After a long while, Ethan closed his eyes in despair. Over the years, many women had tried to seduce him, but none succeeded. It wasn't that he wasn't cautious. If he didn't give an opportunity, could Vivi really succeed? Ethan covered his eyes with his hands, sobbing like a child. That night, he mailed me the signed divorce papers. He gave me all the property without keeping a single share. When Vivi found out, she caused a scene. During the argument, Ethan pushed Vivi down the stairs. The child was lost. Vivi was left paralyzed from the fall. Ethan was arrested for intentional injury. I lost interest in running the company and sold it to Ethan's arch-rival. He was a junior by 1 year, someone we rarely crossed paths with. I heard he had a white moonlight, someone he had secretly loved for many years. After Ethan and I got married, he went abroad to study. A year after returning, he started a company and became Ethan's strongest competitor. The sun was shining brightly. The plane slowly traced across the sky. I sat on the airplane 10,000 meters above the ground. Looking down at the sea of clouds outside the window, it was truly beautiful.